Hi guys, so I've been looking at different videos online from Brexiteers. This one actually popped up on my feed. It was a complete accident, but it's an interesting video. It's by a Brexiteer on Scottish independence. So let's hear what he has to say.
Well, we've just had an election, haven't we? And I think the establishment are beginning to get the message that we do want Brexit, we haven't changed our mind, and let's get on with it. That message has gone through. But another huge message came back, did it not? From
One moment. When you say that the establishment, are you talking about the establishment as Boris Johnson, the government, or what? Is Boris Johnson not part of the establishment? Is the government that has been in power for 9 years, almost 10 years, not part of the establishment? So when he says the establishment, we're told, I don't fully understand what he's talking about. Okay, this is not the main issue here in this video. It's about Scottish independence, so let's move on.
From Scotland, where 90% of the seats went to the Scottish nationalists. I mean, if you look at the electoral map, it's positively overwhelming. So I don't think it's realistic to deny them another referendum. I think that's perfectly legitimate. You can't go on saying to them what we've said to the establishment, said to the Brexiteers, that they didn't know what they were voting for, they didn't really mean it, and all that sort of nonsense. They must mean it. They voted for Scottish nationalists in overwhelming numbers. And I speak as a Scot, part Scot.
Okay, so Godfrey is correct here, and if the video had ended here, I wouldn't have given it much more thought. But he goes in another direction regarding Scottish independence, which is, to say the least, interesting.
On my mother's side, Bruce of Kinnaird Tartan here. But of course, we need to go further than that. The 1707 Act of Union was between England and Scotland. We came together amicably, and I think perhaps it would be a good idea if we parted amicably, but that referendum must include the English, not just the Scots.
Okay, so there's a little problem I have here. The Act of Union in 1707 was not a referendum. It wasn't a referendum between the Scots and the English. And he also talks just about the English here. You know, what about the people of Northern Ireland or the people of Wales? Should they also be included in a referendum? But, what happened in 1707 is not the same as what's happening now in 2020 or having a referendum in 2020.
This is more than the Scots. You can't just narrow the vote down to the Scots. The Scots and the English, let's have a referendum post-Brexit in 2021 and just sort out the future of Scotland perhaps once and for all. Because I'm fed up with the situation at the moment, and I strongly suspect that you're fed up with the situation at the moment.
Okay, I don't even know where to go with this. The idea that the English would have a choice in Scottish independence. I don't like this analogy, but it's it's somewhat similar to an abusive husband deciding if his wife can ask for a divorce or not. Okay, I don't like that analogy, but if the Scots want to leave and the English don't want them to leave, and the English are a bigger population, then it's much easier for them to impose their will. Here in Italy, there is a region called Alto Adige, and in this region, the majority of the people speak German, or a German dialect, I should say. They feel Austrian. Their culture is Austrian. Everything about them is more Austrian than Italian. Now, there has been some separatist movements within that area in the past, but generally these people feel more Austrian than they do Italian. Now, I'm not Italian, but I fully acknowledge that these people don't feel Italian, and if they wanted to leave Italy and become part of Austria, they should be free to do that. It's not in my interest to impose us, the majority in Italy, to impose our will upon those people. Those people don't want to be part of Italy. They should be free to leave. The same in Scotland. The idea that the English should be able to decide in a referendum if Scotland leaves. Well, we know what the result of that would be. It wouldn't require a lot of grassroots support in order to stop Scotland from leaving. And it would be denying the Scottish people, who are different from the English. Okay, the language is the same, but the culture is different. The ways people interact is different. In some cases the language is different. You have Scots language and Gaelic. Okay, but that aside, if a certain group of people feel different, if they feel that they should be free to leave a union or a country, a state, that they feel that is not representing their interests, then they should be free to have a referendum and leave. And it shouldn't be something imposed, something stopped by some imposition carried out by the majority of that state. But it was an interesting take on Scottish independence, but somehow I don't think it's going to happen. But I'd like to know what your comments are on this. Do you agree with Godfrey, or do you think it makes more sense for the Scots alone to have a referendum? Thanks.